is Pete Ouko from Kenya. I'm in Brussels to attend the World Congress Against Death Penalty. I'm a passionate abolitionist, having been on death row myself, wrongfully convicted, wrongfully accused. And so I don't believe anyone should be on death row, and I don't believe in the death penalty. I believe people need to be given a chance to change. People deserve to be given a second chance so that whatever mistakes they could have made, they can rectify. I say that because death sentence is final. So if you sentence someone and you kill that person, you've definitely, even if there was a mistake that had been made, you can't correct it again. And so I believe, everyone believes that needs that chance. And having been on death row, I know the pain people go through, and I know even the pain the people outside go through. So death row is not just punishing that person you've put on death row. Death row punishes the whole family, the whole community. So it's retributive, it's primitive. Let me just use the word the death penalty is very primitive. And I think in a modern world, we don't need primitivity. We need modern ways of handling things. So if you send someone to death and you send someone to life imprisonment without parole, I can tell you one thing, the person on life imprisonment will feel more pain than the person you've killed, because him is gone. He doesn't feel that pain anymore. But the person who's thinking about it and, and reflecting and asking themselves why they did that, it's a big lesson to those who are outside that they should not do that. Let's not forget that in some countries, the death penalty is used for political purposes. Not because someone's a criminal, but if you have differences politically, you can sentence someone to death. In some countries, it's used for different purposes, and we know that not all judicial systems are perfect. So if you work on a judicial system that's not perfect, then there's a chance, a high likelihood of very many innocent people going to death row. And once you send them to death row, once you execute them, it's done. So that's why I really support the abolition of the death penalty. So that wherever it is, they can sit wherever it is, and then they reflect, and then they change. And then those who are innocent can have a space to prove their innocence and get out. I went to death row when I was 28. I was 31, but I got arrested when I was 28. And it was very painful because the cells were very small, we were very many, we were in a small 8-foot by 7-foot, and we were 14, so you cannot even sleep, there's no space. So you just have to sleep on one side. And then there's no water, it was bad. And there was torture back then. The prisons department in Kenya was not good. Right now, they have changed completely. The prisons department in Kenya is one of the best in the world, because instead of torturing people, they're giving them an opportunity to change. They're giving them an opportunity to rehabilitate. So when they're rehabilitated, they're going to school, they're learning trade. When they come out, they're very productive. So death row back then was very painful. You're locked in 23.5 hours a day. You only see this, you see out there for 30 minutes. And then you're locked back again, and every day the same story. When you're going to visit your family, you're in chains. So you have to learn to make friends with the people you're living with. You might not like them, but you're staying there with them, so you have to like them. And then it taught me how to love everybody. Because the person you're with, you could be sitting with someone who's committed a big crime, but you feel you're guilty. You know you're innocent, and the person is guilty. But you have to act like all of you are guilty because all of you are there. Death row makes everyone equal. Whether you're guilty or whether you're innocent, once you're there, because you're all locked in one room, you're eating the same food, waking up at the same time, facing the same punishment, you become brothers. So there's brotherhood, and people pray a lot on death row in Kenya, I can tell you that. In Kenya back then, people used to pray a lot. And so over time, it started changing. Then we got a new vice president, Mudi Awori, with President Kibaki in 2003, and they say no more torture. So they say every warder, if you have a baton, because warders were working with baton, they took away the baton and gave them the pen. So they said, you're going to teach people, you're not going to beat people. So the prison department started reforming in 2003. And by now, as we are talking, it has moved very many steps in Kenya. You don't find people on death row locked up 14. They go to school, even though they're on death row. They play football. They get out and mix with everybody in the maximum prison in Kenya, Committee. So they are no longer, it's not like what I see in Europe, what I see in America, where people are locked in. And one thing I want to tell you is that when you lock someone in that cell, you're not changing him. You're making him become a worse person. Human beings need to socialize. So whether they're on death row or wherever, give them space to talk, to socialize, then they come to their realization that even if they made mistakes, they need to correct themselves. They need to change for the better. But if you lock them in that small cell, or one cell for one person, it's dangerous. I can tell you when that person gets out, you've not helped him because he's totally broken. So I just think there's many things we can learn from the Kenyan prison system, from where it was, we were punishment, then we went to correction and rehabilitation, and now we are doing empowerment. Now, I was in prison for 18 years. Number one, I told you I used to pray a lot. I still pray a lot. I love my faith. But number two, I always believed I'm going home the next day. So I go to sleep and I say, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be at home. So I have to be ready mentally, physically, and I have to keep myself healthy, because if I go home and I'm useless, I'm not going to help anybody. Number two, I'd left my children at home. And they were very young children, 4 years and 3 years. And I wanted to go back home and see them. I wanted them to see me strong. I didn't want them to see me broken and helpless. I wanted my children to see that they know their dad is innocent, and even if I stay for 20 years, when I come out, they see the dad the dad they can relate with. So I had to be strong for my children. Number three, I had to be strong for my late wife, because my wife is the one who was killed. And I had to be strong so that when I come out, I can still follow up on the matter. As I'm talking to you right now, we are still in court following the matter. I came out in 2016, but I'd taken the matter in court in 2015, and we are going to face 5 judges over the same matter. Because we want the truth to come out. I was pardoned by the president, but we want the truth to come out so that we have closure. Without closure for my children, they'll just live there, it's not easy for them. And yet the person who committed this offense is out there. They could commit more offenses. So we need closure so that everyone is at peace. I don't want even the person who killed my wife, I don't want them to go on death row. That's for the government to decide what they want to do with them. But I don't advocate for death penalty. They can learn in different ways. And the biggest thing for me was to forgive. When you take me to death row, the first thing I did was to forgive. I can tell you one thing, that when people come out of prison, life is not so easy. Many people have lost friends, many have lost family, and for places like Kenya, where there's no legal aid, if you are using a lawyer, you've used every money that you had, every saving. Some people sell houses, some people sell all the family property, because they believe they're innocent, they want to come out, and they don't have the money to pay the lawyer. So when you come out of prison, you have to start from zero. And you come out of prison when you're 50, when you're 45, when you're 60. How do you start from zero when you're 45 and 60? So when I was on death row in 2007, we started an organization called Crime See Poor. Crime See Poor means crime is not cool. And we saw many people coming to prison who were young. There were youthful people under 21, 70%. And we don't want them to come to death row, because they're coming to death row not because they've used guns, because they've snatched a mobile phone. So we decided to start this organization when we were on death row, to tell them that please don't come to prison. Stay out there, because prison is not good. You think prison is good? Don't come. So we started sending the message out, but because I was in prison, I could not do it. We didn't have the finances. And even now, we still don't have the finances, but because we have the passion to do it, we have the drive to ensure that we don't have many people coming to prison, we started designing cards. I was designing cards, drawing cards in prison. Then I sell to fellow inmates, I sell outside. Then the proceeds, we make brochures and flyers. Then we send out to schools, to police, to everybody, just about the organization. So when I came out in 2016, then I had a chance now to run it properly. And now I'm the one who's running it as the CEO. I'm even not on salary. I'm still very passionate about that. But the thing is, because it's my baby and we know where we've come from, the public loves it, because it's taking their kids out of crime and taking them somewhere. So right now, as I'm talking to you, we are doing 4 things. We have 20 children we are giving IT training. We have a resource center. We are giving 20 children from the slums IT training, very graded IT training. We have 40 children from the slums who we are teaching on law, basic law, so that when they are trained, they go back to their hood and teach everyone about the law. So there's no conflict with the police. We are telling them when there's a conflict, call the police. Instead of throwing stones, just call them, then they come, then you talk with them. Because we know when there's confrontation, police can use their guns and kill innocent people. But when you talk, no one is going to use a gun on you when you talk. So we are trying to cool down the temperature, so that the youth can have an opportunity to do what they know best. The millennials and the Generation X are very good boys, very good girls. They have so much energy, and they want the results now. But many people don't understand them. People think these youth are bad people. They're not bad. Me, I work with them. They're not bad. My children are still 26 and 25. I understand them very much. Even as a parent, sometimes I have challenges with them. But I know if you give them an opportunity and you tell them, do this, they do it very well. So instead of fighting the youth, we should get them on board and encourage them to do that. So we are mentoring the youth. Every time we go to prisons, every Saturday also we go to prison to train 30 young girls between 14 and 18 in the girls' prison. We have a program running there. So with the support of Global Fund for Children. So we are having these small programs, and then we go to schools. Every week we go to 2 schools so that they don't go to crime, so that they don't go to terrorism, so that they don't sell drugs, so that they don't do things that can take them to prison. So we want to stop it before they go to crime and go to death row. And the ones who come out of prison, we have a resource center we are setting up where they can come and do tailoring, they can come and do things that they can earn some small money, then they start their lives afresh. It's a struggle, we need the support, but we are not giving up because we don't have the money, we just have to keep going. I just tell him, look at me. I was sentenced to death for a crime I didn't commit. So if you still support the death penalty, you believe I shouldn't be sitting here. But I'm sitting here because I had justice and I had mercy from the president. There are people who are not lucky to go through that, and they are very innocent. I know of a young boy, I just want to remember one boy called Kiarie. Kiarie was 16, 17 when he was arrested. He was underage. He was arrested with 7 other people and sentenced to death for a murder he did not commit. I was with Kiarie in prison when he was a young boy. He started growing, and he believed he would be released. When he went for his appeal, the appeal was dismissed, and he was told he's still going to death row. Kiarie went down to the cells of the Supreme Court of Kenya, the Kenya Court of Appeal, and took his belt out and hanged himself. Every day I think of Kiarie, innocent, come to prison at 17, 16 years, and he had to die. He killed himself because he lost hope. Let's not let innocent people lose hope and kill themselves for things we can change. It's within our power to say we don't need that death penalty. If you want to correct people, if someone has made a mistake, take him to prison, get an appropriate sentence, let him go and change, let him go and learn. I mean, anything goes. I think the key thing is that we need to get rid of the death penalty. That's the key thing. And I think the European Union has done well that they've abolished the death penalty. And before you join the European Union, because I've read your laws, you have to have abolished it from your statutes. And then the European Union is also supporting very many programs in the countries that still retain the death penalty. So they have that leverage that they can use to influence these countries to get rid of the death penalty. But the biggest leverage they have is not just the money that they give. The biggest leverage they have is to empower the people in there. People in Kenya, where there's still the death penalty, empower them. And then they bring the story from bottom up. I like working from the bottom up, because when it comes from bottom up, it's the public telling the rulers, these are the laws you made for us, and they don't work, and we don't like them, we want to change them. So the rulers have to change the laws because the public have asked. So the bottom-up approach works for me. I've seen it work very well. Even when I work with the youth and crime, it works very well. I believe that's the approach we should use. Instead of just saying we are going to have a seminar in a hotel, and then the people who are affected don't even know about the seminar. Personally, I don't support, or I don't agree with when we have seminars in Kenya, for example, about human rights and stuff like that. I always say, let's go do it where people are. Let's not just do it in a hotel. Let's go where people are. We talk with them there, we get them to buy in, and then we go out and say, this is what the people have said, help us to implement it.